feel free to keep cameras on. I think it's more fun, and I'm going to say some weird stuff. So,
Yeah, that is fun.
yeah, this is not going to be one of those regular ALM presentations. I'm just warning you. So if you think you're here to see solutions moving between environments, that's not what's going to happen today. Sorry, my pals. Sorry.
It's you,
Yeah,
Chris. I think we know what to expect, right?
most excellent. Most excellent. All
All
right.
right.
So the one thing I've realized, Victor, is I don't have screen share permissions, my bro.
Oh, that's not good.
It's all right,
Are you
dude.
sure you want to present today?
Mate, I'll just do it in the form of a dance.
All right, you got the power. Well,
I
this
see.
is lesson, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's lesson 11,
Yeah.
and we have saved the best for last. You know, my friend Chris Huntingford is here. Um, and if you haven't met Chris before in person, this is kind of a lifetime experience, okay? You know, the same energy you have through the screen here, multiply it 1,000 times, and you have the experience there. Chris, thank you so very much, my friend, for being
Yeah.
here, for donating your time and your knowledge to this community. This is a open conversation. So Chris
Yeah.
is going to present stuff to us. As he mentioned, a lot of what he's going to present has won't touch the technology. I suppose maybe for this lesson, that is the only lesson that he's not going to touch technology as much. But I feel like a lot of folks who are getting into the Power Platform technology are looking for experienced folks to give practical ideas and tips, if you will. So, Chris, I don't think about no one else with more practical tips and fun tips within the
Yeah.
technology and the market as well for us. So, take it away, my friend.
Oh, thanks, man. All right, my friends. Listen, first of all, whatever time zone you're in, thank you very much for joining. I'm at Microsoft UK, so as you can see, there's a kick-ass building behind me. What's amazing is that there were like 20 people sitting in front of me, and they all left. Have a look at this. It's just empty. So like there were loads of people there and they're just gone. So yeah, man, it's because I speak loud. But anyway, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to present my screen. Please stay on camera. Just like let's chat it out. I'll share some war wounds that I've got from this. If you hear any weird noises in the background, it might be me, but it's most likely the people. And you're going to hear this weird elevator going up and down the whole time. And I'm sorry. Anyway, so yeah, let's get cracking, right? So I'm gonna quickly put you guys over there, get my little slide deck up over there, and we're gonna talk about ALM. So first of all, just to let you all know, um, these calls are recorded for quality purposes, right? And I'm hoping everyone can hear me okay. So Cheryl, just give me a big old thumbs up if you can hear me. Cool, 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 cool. All right, so we're gonna have some fun, right? We're gonna be talking about ALM. I might move my mouse pointer up and down. But on today's agenda, all very exciting. Look at that bad boy, that animation. First of all, we have an introduction. Holy smokes, an introduction. Can you believe it, right? Second is where to start. You know, you're going to have seen loads of really good stuff from some of my friends around ALM, and I will break that down for you later. But like a lot of the time, it's like, hey, man, you're going to take a solution, you're going to move it to DevOps, then you're going to take the BLT drive, plug it into the AWO drive, then you're going to conduct a flux capacitor, and it's like, that sounds hard, right? So, second of all, we're going to break it down a little bit into like what is actually a ALM. Like, wait, I thought we were talking about ALM and not all the weird stuff I'm going to tell you. Then we're going to talk about managing your landscape, and last of all, I'll take questions, right? And Ravi has got the coolest. Oh, just throwing it out there. Anywho, so let's get cracking, right? First things first. Introduction. So I'd like to say a massive thanks to Victor and the rest of the team for having me. Um, if any of you have ever been in a presentation, I try to keep it as engaging and as like fun as possible. And Victor brought me on because he thinks I'm a crazy person, apparently. So this is all good, right? And so thank you very much, everyone, for organizing this and just for coming along. Like, I just think this is a lot of fun. And sometimes people perceive ALM as a bit of a boring subject, but we'll make it literally hilarious throughout this presentation. If you want to follow me, yak, 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 I guess the most important part here is I've joined a new company. So I used to work at Avanade, and then I moved roles to a company called ANS. Nobody knows who they are, which is even better because, yeah, we get to create a low-code practice from scratch, right? So We're not doing the conventional I make apps nonsense. We're going to do ecosystems. And my role is actually an ecosystem architect. So I build worlds, very much like the architect from The Matrix, or Terry Pratchett, or Neil Gaiman, or J.R. Tolkien. My role is to make universes in the Power Platform. There we go. So that's my role, right? I don't just make apps. I think apps are a part of it. Anyway, I thought I'd bring this to your attention, right? Because you will have gone through this with a number of folks, and everyone's like, "Hey, ALM, what is ALM?" And with that, I would like to do something very quickly. I'm hoping that this all loads correctly. ALM is application lifecycle management. I'm pretty sure, as you all know, right? And application lifecycle management is what a lot of people think about as, hey, I'm going to take a thing that I made and I'm going to move it from there to there. Is that what everyone kind of thinks, right? I always think that ALM is a little bit wider, and ALM is actually an integrated system of people, processes, and technology that help manage the life of an application. So most of the time people think ALM is, the minute I say ALM, people are like, hey, that's Azure DevOps, which is completely incorrect. Okay, and they're like, hey, it's GitHub, which is also, again, completely incorrect. That's not what ALM is. ALM is actually looking at the wider ecosystem of what your solution is actually going through. So believe it or not, my friends on the call, you are all going up under your own PLM, People Lifecycle Management, right? You are going through people life cycles. You are going through the fact that you are alive. You are on this call. Some of you are hungry. Some of you are tired. Celio has got a beautiful picture of his kids behind him. Cheryl's got an MVP award. So we're getting hobbies. We're understanding what people are doing. It's PLM, people life cycle management. Ravi's got a kick-ass avatar with some super gray streaks, very much like Doctor Strange. Really pretty. Andre chilling there in his green hoodie, you know what I mean? Like, it's very important that PLM is very similar to ALM, application lifecycle management. There we go. We've got the and Pranav's chilling there, just hanging out with his dad, you know, not thinking too much. But the thing is, remember, applications need to go through a life cycle very much like people do, right? So please don't think that ALM means I'm going to move an app from here to here, which is grossly incorrect. ALM is around managing the way in which our applications thrive, or our solutions thrive within an ecosystem. So that being said, we should be making the assumption that application lifecycle management, or the management of a lifecycle of an application, cannot be just defined by tech. You know, so many people assume that, hey, DevOps, put DevOps in, solves all the problems, right? Or, you know what, folks, we're going to make a solution. And a solution is a thing, a digital container for lots of apps and flows and things like that. And once we've done that, we're good, and we can just move that solution, which is incorrect. There are multiple, numerous factors that are at play. All right. It's not just about shifting a solution. Let me tell you something. Sometimes things don't need to be moved into production. Whoa. Get out. You mean I don't have to move something to production to let people use it? Absolutely not. What do you think default environment's for? Kapow, right? So we need to take a lot of things into consideration before we move stuff. So a couple of things I want to break down. Now, first thing is, when I figure out how to use my laptop again, first thing is this, right? Where do you start? Now, a lot of you are like, hey, what we do is we start with learning about solutions in Power Platform. Am I right? Yeah. And when we learn about solutions, we learn about the way in which things are packaged, and we learn about how to move apps. And we're going to take an app from an environment and we're going to put it into another place, and we're going to move a solution from here to here. But actually, it is so much more than that. So I have a set of rules, and my set of rules are as follows. Rule number one is, what are people building and using? Anyone on the call ever thought of that? What are people making and what are they using? First question, forget technology. Don't even think about it. What are people building and using? If you build an app, say Pranav builds a really awesome app. And Pranav, you make great apps, I know you do. And you're like, hey man, I'm going to share this app with everyone. Are people going to use it? Well, I hope so, right? The second thing is, where are people building and where are they using? Okay, and there's a lot of rules underneath all of that that dictate the movements of applications and solutions across platforms, right? So where are people building things? Did you know that the default environment is something you cannot turn off in a Power Platform environment or ecosystem? And the only way to turn it off is to beg Microsoft, and then you can eventually block the proxy or the URL. But you cannot turn off defaults, and the reason you cannot turn off default is because you will break SharePoint, you will break OneDrive. So people will make stuff there. That's where they're making things. Where are they using them? Well, here's an interesting fact. Did you know that a app user, and I'm using the word app on purpose, will never ever go to make.powerapps.com, and nor should they. They should be using apps out of an app launcher. You should never direct a person that's using an app to make.powerapps.com ever. The third question I have is, who is building these and who is using them? Do you have citizen developers making things? Do you have business technologists making things? Do you have pro developers making things? I call them makers because I like the concepts of a maker, somebody that's like non-denominational across the technology. I don't care who you are. If you're making something, you're a maker. Whether you're really good or really bad at it, you're a maker. So before you even consider ALM, think about those three things. Also, when you go into an organization, and whether you're a customer, somebody that's paying Microsoft to use Power Platform, or you're a partner, people that are implementing Power Platform, ask those three questions. And let me tell you, if you get a person to respond to one of them, you're in luck. Remember, you cannot physically turn the Power Platform off. You do not need a license to build an app. You need a license to save an app, but you do not need a license to build an app. So think about those three things before you start thinking about ALM, because ALM is a thing that happens a lot later. So let's take a look at a bit of a drill down, right? So let's get stuck in. What do you guys say? So let's get stuck in, right? So first of all, what are people making, right? First question. So what are people making? Are people making tiny weedy little apps? Are they making little things that are temporary? Okay. Is your solution going to be throwaway? Because if it is, the ALM, the application lifecycle of your solution, will be minuscule. It gets thrown away. It does not need to be taken through a dev, test, prod, pre-prod environment or pre-prod prod. Is that necessary? Why would you do that? Who cares? It's throwaway. Chuck it in default. Let them break it, throw it away after you're done and done. That's that, right? Who will need access to your solution? Who is going to access the thing that you make? If your solution is going to be accessed by 50,000 people in your business and it's a timesheet solution, well, guess what? That is a critical solution. The ALM, the application lifecycle management of that solution, is different to a solution that is temporary. How complex is your solution? Does your solution use SharePoint as a database, which is not a database, by the way? Does it use Excel, which is also not a database? Okay, if it does, excellent. Your solution then goes through a different process to premium connectivity. If you're using Dataverse, your Dataverse is siloed to an environment. Where is your data? Kapow, the biggest question of the Power Platform world. If your data is in SharePoint, you don't need to shift the data source. You can just move it over to another environment. Oh no, now we're getting into complex stuff around ALM. Everyone's like, oh, but can't we just chuck it into a solution and move it through GitHub? No, we haven't even thought of GitHub. We don't even know GitHub exists. GitHub's a thing in the stars. You know what? There's GitHub, right? We don't care. We don't even know who's building stuff or what they're building, right? What does the solution consist of? I vote we abolish the term app. I think an app is a dumb word, right? I think it's never an app. Ravi and I have gone through some pretty interesting scenarios together back in NAM where we never talk about apps. We talk about solutions, a consolidation of digital bricks that make up something awesome, right? So abolish the term app. It's never just a simple app. It's never, have you ever played Lego? You know when you're playing Lego and you go into your Lego box, and Pranav will probably tell me, I'm hopefully telling me he's right. I'm right? You go and take one little brick out of a Lego box and you're like, here's my little brick. And you're like, this is the Power Platform. Pranav, how many things have you made with one brick?
None.
How many things have you made with lots of bricks?
A lot.
That's my man. See, Pranav knows, right? When you're using the Power Platform, it's never just an app. It's always data and apps and flows and all sorts of really cool things that you bring together into something that looks amazing. So we're not talking about apps anymore. We are talking about solutions, a much wider consistency of little bricks that we use to make something awesome. So we've discovered what people are making. They're making everything from tiny little things to really kick-ass solutions like timesheets and stuff. But here's the question I have for you folks. Think about this. Is a timesheet solution the same type of solution as a kudos solution? A solution that gives people kudos in your industry, should it be treated the same? What is a timesheet solution? It's the thing that dictates who gets paid and when and where. Does a kudos solution dictate that? No. So why would you treat them the same? That's unfair. Your ALM is different. A kudos solution is throwaway. A timesheet solution is not throwaway. Therefore, your application lifecycle management, the life cycle of the two solutions are different. The one is massive. It's kind of like a solar system, where the other one is a little moon orbiting a bigger planet. So if you think about it in solution technology, think about it like this, right? When I take a look at this list of things, a solution that is built as a throwaway solution as personal team productivity, even if it's not throwaway, right? You don't need to have so much ALM fixated on small business cases as you do for organization-wide initiatives. So why on earth would I build one ALM strategy for my business? Why would I say I'm going to make an ALM strategy and I'm going to have a developer environment, a test environment, a pre-prod and a prod environment, and I'm going to just go through every solution I make goes through that? Absolutely not. Never, ever, 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 ever do that. And we'll talk about environments shortly, by the way, because that's my next bugbear. So just remember, ALM, the life cycle of your solution is going to be different depending on the criticality of your solution. So we've answered kind of what are people making, but my favorite question of all time is where are they making it? Oh, come on. Yeah, in defaults. Everyone cool with that, right? We're going to chuck everything in defaults. Yeah? By the way, folks, I can't see the comments, so if you have questions, just ask. But so I've got all these cool solutions, like critical solutions and simple solutions, and I'm going to build them all in defaults. Everyone okay with that? Yeah? Cool? No.
No.
Yeah.
Environment.
Fantastic, my bro. Fantastic. So where are things being created? So let me tell you a story real quick. I spoke to a friend of mine. She built a flow that took data from Germany and sent it out to America. Anyone ever done any data stuff in Germany? Ravi, put up your hand. What happens when you send data out of Germany? You're not allowed to. You're breaching data laws. Okay. So where are you making stuff? You cannot have an environment that is located in the UK and put German data in it. You're not allowed to do that. That is breaking data laws. That's illegal. You are at risk. You will be fined. So where you are making things is equally as important as what you are making. I'm building a mission critical solution inside an environment hosted in Europe, in the UK or America, but it's for data that is located in China. Is that okay? Absolutely not. It's not okay. There are many rules that you are breaching, and if you get caught, you will be in trouble. Which brings me to my next point. Where is the solution being stored for people to access it? Oh no, now we're getting to another world. Now, but remember, ALM is all about GitHub and DevOps. Remember, that's all it's about. It's all about where data is located, where your things are located. How secure is that environment? So do you have the right user roles and permissions in that environment to maintain and manage who accesses it and who makes it? Okay. Does this allow for multiple people to have access? If I give Cheryl access to my German environment and Cheryl works in America, I can guarantee you that's a data breach. Depending on the data, of course. If it's PII, you're in trouble. Do the solutions need to be taken through a process to move between environments? So if I make something really kick-ass, like my timesheet solution, do I need to take that through a dev, a test, a pre-prod, and a prod environment process? Do I need to get different people? As an example, say Andre is my test guy. And Andre is like, hey man, I don't care what you make. I'm just going to test everything all day. Like that's my goal. And I'm going to make sure that your stuff is good. So I move it into test and he tests and he's like, hey man, this is terrible. Like off you go. That's where the process stops. I've got to take it back and rebuild and then get him to test again until he approves. Then Ravi approves it in pre-prod, and eventually Tilio approves it in prod, and everyone's happy, right? But remember, where things are located are equally as important. Now, I'm going to show you my favorite slide of all time because this does crack me up a lot. This is Microsoft's version of ALM, my friends. This is their environment strategy. Okay, and an environment strategy dictates where things are built. So just remember, you have defaults, you have developer, critical problems, business unit developments, and then What is that? Project development. So we only need like 6 environments. The last project I did had 70,000 users and we had over 500 environments. Oh dear. Oh no, now where, and Ravi, you were part of this, bro. Where is it built? Is it okay for me to build a project inside this business unit over here and then give access to these people? No, it's not. Where it's built is equally as important. Do not make the assumption that dev test prod is the right way. I worked in a company where they had 13 environments in a string moving solutions through it, right? 13 environments from dev all the way up into production. There were 13 steps that solution had to go through. So I propose something different, if you don't mind. And I would like to challenge this diagram because I don't think that that's an environment strategy at all. In fact, I think that's weak. Sorry, but I think it is. I'm going to show you my version. That's my version. I'll tell you why. Because do not make the assumption that there is only one type of environment. Dataverse for Teams environments are treated very differently to developer environments. They are treated very differently to Dynamics environments, and Dynamics is a Power App, which are treated very differently to environments that are hosted in a country because the data is different, which are treated very differently to environments that are hosted in a departmental organization, which are treated differently to environments that are hosted in a global organization. So here's my deal. Let me give you a scenario. I work in a global organization and I am a maker and I like to make stuff. I'm kick-ass at making things. And the organization I work in has got multiple countries and I am part of HR and I like to make things. My HR solution for capturing timesheets might be a global solution, but is my payroll app hosted in the same place? No, it cannot be. Why? Because I'm dealing with PII data, private information. So my payroll system needs to be localized in Germany and needs to be localized in Switzerland and needs to be localized in another place. So all of a sudden I've got all these different environments dotted all over the place. So ALM, moving stuff between environments, is completely irrelevant to me right now because all I care about is where my data is. We'll get to moving stuff, don't worry. That's a thing. But remember, environment strategy is your key. If you want to unlock ALM and make ALM work correctly, environment strategies are the way to go. If you get your environment strategy correct right in the beginning, you will be gold. But do not make the assumption that people understand this, because what I'm showing you right here, okay, I've shown to hundreds of people and they're like, okay, so you're telling me I just have to have dev test prod in every country? No, because here's where it gets even weirder. You cannot turn off default, nor should you. So anyone that knows what the default environment is, do not turn it off, leave it there, make it the cat litter box. Let people just build whatever they want, right? If you have a good data strategy and you have locked down your environments correctly with data loss prevention and security, it shouldn't matter what people make in defaults. Who cares? When customers say to me, hey, Chris, I don't want people to make Power Apps because I'm scared they're going to get access to my data. I'm like, oh, homie, you got a much bigger problem than Power Apps, my bro. Your problem is your data structure and you don't know how to manage your security. So all of a sudden we've taken a $5,000 problem and turned it into a $500,000 problem purely because your data landscape is incorrect. So when people panic about defaults, I ask why. And it's because they do not understand that a Power App does not magically give you access to data. Oh, we're talking about ALM, aren't we? Yeah, totally. It starts with data every single time. What about this little thing here? Team productivity. What is that? What's that noise? What's team productivity? What that means is that I've created a default environment for every country, but I control the security roles. I've created an environment where people can go and build things willy-nilly, but I control what they do with data, with security and DLP. I also have the ability to lock down tools like Dataverse, still using it for a governance tool, but not allowing them to manage data. And that's where you have to start thinking about security. How do you manage your security in each environment? Oh man, I've just gone and taken a whole thing called ALM and completely blown it out the box with complexity. Absolutely, because people don't think about this, and this is where fines come from. What about if we look at it a little bit further? What about strategizing about what people do in each environment? So what I did was I had this really cool idea of building these things called environment cards. Any of you ever played Pokemon? I'm pretty much guessing some of you have. Some of you played Magic the Gathering. I played Magic when I was a kid. Loved Magic the Gathering. Thought it was kick-ass. I used to play soccer cards. You know, when you get those little football cards, you get a little fight. Like Celio is worth 5 stars because he scored 65 goals in the last match. Yeah, so I did that, right? I'm South African, so the rugby thing is more of a thing for me. But anyway, football's not a real game. So anyway, back to the discussion. I built environment cards, and I said to folks, if you really want to understand what is happening in each environment, why not categorize them? So with developer environments, you're going to have your audience as experienced citizen developers or pro developers, people that understand the platform. What are they making? Well, here's what they're making under the description. What's the cost to the business? Well, it's zero because developer environments are free, right? Solution type, well, it's dev. Doesn't matter what I make. And then typically what I would have is different owners for each environment, right? So that's the whole thing. Classify and categorize your environments. What are people making and where are they making it? Okay, I've disobeyed every possible rule you can think of as far as environment strategies go, by the way. So don't think that I'm correct all the time, because I'm not. Only 99% of the time. My wife's the only one that's correct all the time. Right, so that's that. Cool. The next one we want to get into is, well, please understand that makers are not the same as users. So what does that mean? That means we have to have different security roles to allow people to do different things in different environments. So makers need different access levels to make stuff. But let me tell you, I will never give a maker access to production. Oh, Chris, bad guy, man. Why would you not do that? Well, because admins only need access to production. Makers should be the people in dev, building, and team productivity, building stuff, making things, creating cool stuff. Hey, Gary, I've got a cool app on my mobile phone. Cheryl made it. Awesome. That's what we're doing, right? Let them make stuff, but let other people put it into production if needed. But remember, in team productivity, there is no production. That's the crap box. Everyone just goes in there and uses stuff. Who cares what they do? Because it's all locked down with DLP and security. Permissions, security, DLP. And I'm going to get onto why this is all key later on, right? So please remember, don't for 1 minute think that a maker is the same as a user. So who is looking to make and looking to use the solutions? Who is going to do it? I've worked in every possible organization where I've had people saying, I want to turn this on for 150,000 people in my business. And I've had organizations saying, I want to lock this down and no one to ever use it in the world ever. Both. I've been on both ends of the spectrum. Who is going to be making stuff? If Cheryl is going to be making stuff and Ravi is going to be making stuff, I need to give them access to those environments. What happens with access? Security. What happens with security? Overhead. What happens with overhead? I have to go and bug the security team to ask them to add Cheryl to a security group to give them access to an environment. Right? Who is going to be using them? Never ever give people access to a solution in a maker environment. Always just use an app launcher. Where will they be making and using? You've got to figure out where people are going to be doing stuff and what access will they need. Security, security, security. My friends, before you even think about moving a solution between points, security will be your best friend. And that is one of the first parts about ALM. So the way I combated that in my previous delivery was I created archetypes. I'm sorry about the blurriness. I don't know what's going on. I created archetypes. And an archetype is somebody that is using the solution or making in different ways. I really apologize. I don't know what's happened to the slide. But anyway, you have different archetypes. So you have citizen developers, you have business technologists, you have IT developers, you have all sorts of types of people that are going to be building in these environments. Are they all the same? No, a citizen developer is not the same as somebody that is a pro developer. I don't like the terminology. I call them makers. But in the real world, those two people are not the same. I know for a fact Ravi can build some really cool stuff, and I'm not as good at that. So I'm a citizen dev and Ravi's a pro dev. We will work in different environments. We will work differently. Our framework is different. So now you're probably thinking, man, this is a lot of complexity, but it's not actually when you think about it, and I'll show you how, right? But to kind of summarize that bit, so don't get excited. I'm not letting you all off the hook just yet, right? To summarize this bit, first of all, when you're talking to an organization, ask them what they are making. What are you building? What are people creating? 99% of the time, the organization has no cooking clue. That's when you put in the Center of Excellence starter kit, have a look, and 99% of the time, they have no idea that there are mission critical things in there. What are people making? Use a thing called solution sizing. I'll tell you what, let me ask you a question. One of the greatest examples I've ever heard. I have a flow, and my flow runs automatically every now and then, once every 15 to 20 days. Okay. I have another flow that runs every 2 hours, and I have another flow that runs every 1 minute. Which is the most important flow? Take a stab. Anyone? You can't answer the question, can you? And you go for it, Victor.
I'd say all of them.
Yeah, you're right. Because it just so happens the one that runs every minute, once every minute, is an alert to tell me that my nuclear reactor's okay. Okay. The one that runs every 2 days is the one that tells me that I need to go and inspect my nuclear reactor. The one that runs every 15 minutes is the one that tells me when, every 15 to 20 days is telling me the nuclear reactor's failed. Which is more important now? See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very difficult scenario. You turn off the flow that tells you the nuclear reactor's failed, and all of a sudden we've got a very big problem on our hands, don't we? So don't perceive the time it takes for something to execute as something that's more critical. Don't perceive an app that is accessed by 5,000 people versus an app that's accessed by 1,000 people as the app that's more critical, that's got the mass. That's not the case, and that's what I don't believe Microsoft have gotten right. Monthly active usage is not an indication of criticality. So when you are moving things and when you are thinking about application lifecycle management, you need to create a matrix in order to understand what is more important and why. The where thing is another story altogether, because if you're putting data in the wrong place, you get into trouble, right? Data policies and security roles are your friend here. Environment strategy, start with environment strategy. Solution sizing, environment strategy. What are the things we're building? Where are we putting them? I don't take my Duplo Lego bricks and put them in the tiniest little Lego box in the world. Why? Because they don't fit. Doesn't make sense, right? But then again, I don't take all my awesome Lego and pour it into the Duplo box because then I lose it all. The Duplo is the one that makes the most sense in there. And then who is making? Who are the people that are making things? If it's Cheryl that's making a solution, I trust her because she's very clever. She's a pro developer. She understands how to build stuff. But then again, if it's me making stuff, you guys shouldn't trust me. Like, I don't know anything, right? If Pranav makes a solution, I'm going to be like, hey, Pranav, great job. You're awesome, man. Like, he makes great stuff. But you don't know who has got the right capability to build stuff, which is where I start moving out to something that's a little bit more creepy. I thought we said the session was about ALM, didn't we? Yeah, we agreed it was about ALM. And I haven't spoken about moving a single solution to a single point. I haven't told you anything about GitHub or DevOps. Have I? No. Haven't mentioned. I said to you that this is not going to be about DevOps. This is not going to be about GitHub. GitHub and DevOps are an afterthought compared to what I'm telling you now. If you don't get this stuff right, GitHub and DevOps don't matter. You don't get your framework right, those two tools mean nothing. That's the important part, right? So when I start thinking about ALM, well, I promised I would talk to you about ALM, but let's think about it a little bit more, right? I gave you a quote in the beginning, and I said, well, people are part of the process, right? The people who manage these things are part of the process. 99% of the time when I walk into an organization and I'm like, hey, sweet, we're going to do some stuff with ALM. We're going to put in DevOps, we're going to make pipelines, and we're going to put decision trees, and we're going to take this and we're going to move it there, and then we're going to do a backflip and a forward flip, and then I'm going to drive to wherever, and everyone's like, oh, cool, pipelines, it's so exciting. This is the greatest thing in the world. But if you have no one to manage it, it means nothing. 99% of the problems in the organizations I've dealt with are all down to people. It's never tech. Tech's the easy part, man. Holy smokes. Like, we can go and learn technology. That's not hard. The second thing is about process. Well, we've got tech. Cool. Tech is amazing. But what about process? What about the actual process about managing the tech, getting the tech in, who supports this? Why do things run the way they do? Why does the process run the way it does? How do we automate this? And then finally, technology. Cool. Tech. Everyone's heard about GitHub and DevOps. You've heard about these solutions the entire time you've been on this course. Awesome. I think we've proven we've got the technology. Let's not carry on with that one, right? So when I break this down, I always talk to people about people, process, and tech. Age-old stuff, folks. This has been around since the 80s, right? Even since, look, I was born in 83, I'm giving my age away, right? But people were talking about, hey, Gary, we should do some people. And they're like, yeah, we should put in some processes and tech. Awesome. This is amazing. Hey, fantastic. What does that mean? No one knows, but it sounds cool to say those three things, right? It is, because it's real and it works. People, who is going to do stuff? What are they going to manage? How are they going to manage it? Process. Well, it's kind of pointless without process. I'll show you a very funny slide on process later. It made me laugh. And then technology. What is the tech that supports the process and the people? Okay. How do you make sure that that stuff actually works and is automated in that? So when I kind of drill into each one of those areas, I like to think about, well, we need to plan. If we're going to do this whole ALM thing, we need to plan. Now, in my world, I'll just build everything in default. Right? I'll just build everything in default, bring fire to the world of technology. I don't really care what anyone thinks, no ALM, everything's in default, everything's live. I'm super looking forward to my GDPR fine I'm about to receive as well, by the way. And that's the whole thing, right? It can't all be in one place. So you have to plan. When you go through your project, when you're setting up a project, everyone's like, you know what we need? You know what we need? We need a developer and we need DevOps. Why? Why do you need DevOps? I don't know, because it's ALM. What's ALM? I don't know, because we have to move this. Why do you have to move it? I know, because that's what we were told. No, you weren't told anything. You just think you have to move it to a production scenario because that's what's in your brain, but that's not correct. I can quite easily leave the solution that's not mission critical in a team productivity scenarios, environments, and let people have at it. Who cares if it gets deleted? Oh, well, boo-hoo. We carry on with life. But if our case management solution or our timesheet management solution gets deleted, well, then we're wrong. So we have to plan. We have to think. We have to think about things. Not everything needs to go through a DevOps cycle, folks. Not everything. So when I break it down, I always think about the people again. Rule number one, people. Do I have the right team of people to manage this? Do I have makers? Do I have people that are going to build stuff? I would like to clone Pranav. I want 50 Pranavs to go and make me apps. Sweet. And my 50 Pranavs make me 1 million apps, and then I'm done, right? I'm cool. But then what about who's using those apps? I don't know. How do they get access to them? I don't know. Because we just made the apps and we just assume people find them. Where do they find them? Oh, they're in environments, but users don't care about environments. The last thing in a user's brain is going to make.powerapps.com. And once I'm there, I'm going to sift through the 60 environments I have access to, and I'm going to find the app I need. No one cares. Literally, not a single user will go to make.powerapps.com and think about using that. You know what we do? We create app launches. We create things where users can access them. Users will never go to make.powerapps.com, and nor should they. Support. Oh, ALM is all about moving stuff, but who supports those apps? If Cheryl makes a really kick-ass app inside of default environments and I'm IT, I'm not going to support that. I don't even care if she's made it. Cool, Cheryl, nice work. SharePoint list, app, kapow, done. I don't care. Hey, Chris, can you solve my app problem? No, you've done it in default. That's not my problem. Boo-hoo. Sort it out yourself, right? But if Cheryl makes that app in a team productivity environment, all of a sudden that's under my remit. I'm in IT. I'm like, oh, Cheryl, you mean business here, my friend. You're making a really good app inside a team productivity environment with some sweet flows, and all of a sudden you break that app. Now it's my problem. It's not yours anymore. It's mine because you built it in my spot. And when you do that, you know I'm going to look after it. But then what are you going to give me in return? You see what I mean? It's all give and take. People don't think about this stuff. ALM, application lifecycle management, doesn't mean the app is just going to stay there. You have to think about who looks after it. What about approvers? Everyone loves the word approver. You would have heard the word approver a million times. I'm going to make a DevOps pipeline, and Gary's going to approve it, then Mary's going to approve it, then Harold's going to approve it. Okay, cool. What if I make an app that no one knows about? Who's going to approve that? No one. You can't lock down the Power Platform. You can't set it off. So what do we do now? Well, now we've got a problem, right? Because your approval process is out the window. But you have to think about this. You have to think about who looks after these things, who approves the solution being moved, who even approves the solution being created. If Cheryl, again, makes that solution inside default and she knocks on my door and says, hey, Chris, I've got like 20 people using this thing. It's super cool. I want to put it in a place where it can be looked after correctly. Yeah, absolutely, Cheryl. Come over. Bring it over to me. I'll look after it for you. It sounds like you've got a great solution here. What about administrators? Oh, now we're just adding to the team. Now I'm just overcomplicating it, right? But administrators manage security. They manage compliance, governance, risk, change. Goodness me, this is getting very difficult, right? And then we start moving out into the even more complicated word of process. Sorry, I love the slide. I think it's hilarious. I don't know why I like toast so much. Anyway, so by the way, the greatest thing you can ever have on toast is chocolate spread, right? Hot toast, melted chocolate spread. It's the greatest thing ever. Anyway, so what about the approval processes? Who looks after that process? Who is going to do that? And what is the process? Do we have like a stage gate? I'm pretty sure somebody's shown you in this session a screen with a whole bunch of diagrams that show you a process of an app moving, right? Yeah, I bet you. Okay, that's the process. That's the route that people take, right? But what about support? For every environment you have, for every app or flow or solution you move into every new environment, there is a support structure. There is a process around support. Here's a great one. Do you know that app support is different from platform support? Right? So if I make an app, that support structure is very different to the way a platform is supported. Okay. Excuse me. What about the whole concept of building an app and retiring a solution? If I make a solution and no one's using it, what happens after that? We have to retire it. We have to, Microsoft terminology, we have to sunset it, right? If that solution is not being used, it is noise in your landscape. Get rid of it, back it up, or back it up, get rid of it, and that's that, right? If history tells you that things aren't being used, don't use them. ALM, application life cycle management. You're removing the things that people don't necessarily need. My favorite one, and we'll get onto this now, and this is the thing that people would have told you loads about, is the tools, the tech. We're not going to get around it, folks. We need stuff to enable us. Listen, you don't fly to the moon without a rocket. Okay, you don't go to the shop without a car unless you're in England where we walk everywhere, and you don't go to a skate park without a skateboard. All you do and you watch everyone be awesome, right? The tech is pretty important because the tech is the platform in which you undertake ALM. Now, when I say ALM, it doesn't mean I'm moving a solution. DevOps and GitHub help you do that, but it's all about the health of the solution. What about monitoring? Anyone think of that? What about Azure App Insights? Understanding the health of a solution, understanding who is using it, why they're using it, what it's there for. Don't for 1 minute think that ALM is about DevOps and GitHub, because it really is not. It's part of it. It's a part of a bigger suite of a concept of ALM. But the health of a solution is equally as important. Do I move a solution that nobody cares about into production? Why would you do that? But people think just because it's made doesn't mean it shouldn't have to move every time, right? What will the tools be used for? Hey, I'm in industry. I'm going to make some apps. I'm an enterprise organization. I'm going to invest $1 billion in tools, and nobody picks them up. Nobody does a single damn thing with them. Is that good? No. So think about it. The people are the most important part. If there is a need for application lifecycle management, which there is in every single organization that you ever work in, there is a need for ALM. You need to break the perception that it's about moving solutions between points. The people are the most important. Second is figure out the process. What are people going to be doing? What is the process to moving these solutions? And thirdly, what tech, what tools will help me move them? But also, what tools will help me manage them? Power Platform's got a really cool thing called PPAC, Power Platform Admin Center. Awesome, right. Center of Excellence Starter Kit. You've seen that to death in these calls. COE Starter Kit is kick-ass, but it's a starter kit. Right? Application monitoring, App Insights. There's so many cool things you can use in the Power Platform to help you manage and monitor the life cycle of a solution. But remember, every solution has a life cycle. Ask Lotus Notes. So last point, right? We've got to think about managing the landscape. Are you going, hey man, told us a lot about stuff, man. Where's the demos? You ain't getting no demos tonight, my friends. That's all next week. What you're getting right now is fundamentals that you should all know before you go out and buy GitHub and Azure DevOps. So what about the landscape? Well, managing the landscape is really, really, really important because, again, you may have a cluster of things inside Power Platform and Dynamics that are all running together and rolling together and all the cogs are turning, right? But actually, at the same time, things aren't always static. They're not always stuck, right? So you've got to remember that. Things will move. They have a life cycle. You have to agree with that. You can't just say, hey, I've got a Canvas app and I'm going to leave it in an environment for 20 years. No, that's irresponsible. You're chewing up memory. You're chewing up space. You're basically making a noise. Get rid of the thing, right? I'm a hoarder. I'm South African, man. Like where I come from, I just want to believe. I believe I have to keep everything because I'm afraid I'm going to lose it all, right? Like a hoard. And people do that with tech. They digitally hoard stuff. They're like, oh my gosh, they're like Gollum with the ring, precious. And then they realize that actually it's kind of pointless. They don't need that stuff, right? So you have to manage your landscape. So when I start thinking about it, and I make three core points in order to close this entire session up, is number one, please understand that ALM is not about DevOps and GitHub. It is not about moving solutions between points. That's easy. If you want to move solutions between points, cool. We'll create a pipeline, move some solutions. We can go ahead and export stuff and move stuff in, whatever you want, right? But ALM is not about moving solutions. I love the fact that people, the moment Microsoft say ALM and this acronym gets flung around like it's peanuts, I'm like, but no one really goes into what that actually means. It like doesn't mean I'm gonna export a managed solution and put it here. That's not ALM. That's a tiny weeny little piece of ALM. It's like the smallest part, right? The second thing is, if you want to do this properly and you want to do this right and you want to do this responsibly yourselves, for any organization you're working with, sort out your solution sizing and sort out your environment strategy. Okay, that is the first step you take towards ALM. I don't care if you have GitHub. I don't care if you have DevOps. I don't care if you use Slack for ALM. I don't even know if that's a thing. I don't care if you use OneDrive. That means nothing to me. What I care about is that you put data in the right place and you put your solutions in the right place. Even if I have to pay Victor $1 million every day to lift up a solution and move it for me, I'll do that. But I'm more concerned about the data and where it is. And Victor, I would pay you, bro, because you are that good. And the security is the most important part. Make sure the right people have the right access to the right information. And then finally, the thing you've all been waiting for is make sure that the right technology is in place. Okay, that's the key, right? If you want to have a solid, rock solid platform, it's kind of like when you're building those cool Lego houses and pirate ships and stuff. You've got that big green Lego board. That's what tech does. It gives you that board. It gives you that mechanism to build stuff on top of. So no matter how many digital bricks you lay it together, that's cool, right? That's what the tech is about. But the tech is a support structure for people and process. If you do not have people and you do not have process, stop. Don't even think about tech. Don't buy GitHub. Don't go to Azure DevOps. Don't buy Power Platform. Don't think about it. Go and figure out the right people for the right job and figure out your purpose as an organization. And I promise you, you will not regret it. Every single failed project I've ever seen is down to people. It's not down to tech. Pranav has proved it to us on this call. Pranav has learned the Power Platform at such a young age. And man, I respect you very much, man. He has picked up the Power Platform and learned it. My mentee is 18 years old. He built me his first custom connector the other day, and he's been doing Power Platform for 2 months. Friends, we're not in a place where tech is the key. We're in a place where people are the key. And if we enable people, the technology will follow. Okay, so no matter how many pipelines you've seen in these sessions and how many solutions you've seen and how many awesome GitHub repositories you've seen, the key is the people. So with that, I'd like to thank you, and I will open up for questions. But that's what I got, folks, and I wanted to share that with you because I believe it's very, very important to understand that if you build your base properly, your tech will come later. So yeah, I appreciate the time. Victor, thank you so very much for inviting me to this, man.
Oh no, this is solid gold. I mean, this is what I've seen in the market for SMBs, which is the area that I work the most. Companies trying to figure out where to use the technology, and pretty much 100% every single time we have to develop a business strategy for folks before we even start talking about technology and environments, and almost every time the way we work is essentially by setting up a team of people, again, Chris, that will not only be involved with the Power Platform adoption, but also people vetting what's going to is going to be used in coming up with the solutions. Not only the apps. So there is one customer that named that team the Hive. You know,
Yeah.
and we are seeing a lot of success in that. Forming a team, and the second stage that we see often is that business leaders will lean towards this I don't call it the makers or the Power Platform experts. It's just business, just people getting together and using the technology to support the ideas, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, this is really good. I don't have any specific question, but 1 hour that for me it's gonna turn into probably a day or two of dissecting each slide and just looking at stuff. So really appreciate you doing this for us. Anybody else who is on the call that would like to pose a question? Go ahead, Pranav.
I'd like to know, Chris, by any chance, who built your slides?
So
Yeah,
this guy.
okay, well,
Yeah.
that's really nice, Chris. Really nice.
Thank you, my friend. And listen, I have to tell you, man, I was thinking about you when I was making these, and I'll tell you why. Because I was like, if anyone can make something, is it really important to fixate on the tech and rather the person doing the job? And I feel like, I always think, and I'm also quite happy to see Cheryl here as well, because like, it's quite good to try and get into the persona of the person looking at what you're doing. So yeah, man, I appreciate that so much, Pranav. Thank you very much, man.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I think it's a really important point, right, that you have rounded teams looking at this, because obviously people who love tech will try to dive straight into the tech, right? That'll be the temptation, is that they'll just head straight to the tech, all the shiny things. Oh, let's make something fantastic, and actually not pause to think about all those things you've highlighted. And those are the things that are critical. I totally agree with you. And you're right, so many failed projects because nobody's really given that any thought.
Yeah, it's quite scary. Like, look, when I was prepping for this, I actually messaged Victor, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm pretty sure everyone's seen DevOps to death and solutions to death, and I was like, I don't know DevOps very well, and I don't want to be honest. Like, that's not my thing. I'm super good at other stuff, but like DevOps is not my thing at all. And when I was thinking about it, I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna meet all these people. I'm gonna have to do this DevOps demo, and I'm like, no, screw that noise. Like, we're gonna take a different approach here because I feel like it's so easy, and Cheryl, you put it perfectly, easy to get into the tech and show you solution layering and complex brand, blah, blah, blah. And we can do that. And we'll do that, some of that next week, by the way. So we'll get into some nerdy stuff next week, which again, it breaks all the rules, just by the way. So whatever you see from me next week is not what you're going to read in Microsoft Docs. But like, I feel as if a lot of the time we do that, we don't think about who is building. And the example I'm going to give you as a taster for next week, we always talk about having a bunch of developers in one environment. What about having 7 dev environments and a bunch of developers? Oh no.
That's a challenge, right?
I'll show you how to get around it. But like, it's really important to know like who is making. So if I have Pranav, Andre, Ravi, and you, Cheryl, building stuff, and then Victor's the lead dev, how does Victor consolidate all that stuff? Like, what does he do? That's a hard job, folks. That's a hard job. Like, Victor's going to really struggle to bring 50 different solutions together in one. So how do we make sure people are building right? And also, what about legacy stuff? Like, not legacy, classic, like Dynamics. You're building a dynamic solution. You want a bunch of Power Platform solution. Couple of words: keep the core clean. Stop building everything in Dynamics. Think about what's around it. Orbit it. And I'll show you that. I'll actually show you something I built. Right. So, sorry, that's a lot of noise. I'm excited. I want to show you guys more.
Awesome. No, no, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Um, did we miss any questions on the chat? I don't think
I
we
can't
had
see.
more.
Oh, I've
We
just
had
seen the
more
chat now.
comments. Yeah, we had more comments than questions. We are redefining ALM to a lot of moving. If we are just talking about Azure pipelines, DevOps, so that is not real ALM. It's just a lot of moving solutions here and there. But I love what you addressed today, Chris, and I'm excited for next week already.
Oh man, I appreciate that. I've only just been able to see the comments now since I refreshed, but this is awesome. By the way, the call at the top right of the slide was it's a funny story. We did this in Florida, that slide, and I'm like, oh, I've got to put the slide in because it's really fun. And I couldn't copy the text, so I had to screenshot the slide. That's why it looked terrible. And then Cookie was there, and I'm like, hey man, I've got to pay him homage. I love him. He's my bro. So yeah,
Everyone loves
anyway,
Cookie, right? He is
yeah,
an absolute star.
oh, he is. He's amazing. But yeah, folks, yeah, just again, Victor, like very much appreciated on being able to do this with you, man. I've always wanted to do stuff with you, so I appreciate the time. And folks,
we'll do some more for sure.
yeah, and listen, folks, on the call, if you guys have got questions that you want to fire over and any ideas that you want to share for next week, like next week, I'm going to make it really weird. So just be prepared. I may send over some stuff before, but I don't know yet. But let's put it this way: there might be some hands-on stuff next week.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome.
No labs, but I'm gonna let you break some things. So I don't know yet. Just hold fire. But yeah,
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So we'll see you all next week. Remember that tomorrow, the 18th, we still have a lot of sessions on the Dataverse Summit. There will be, I think tomorrow is more technical, PCF development and such. There may be some ALM there too, but more DevOps. So connect. It starts fairly early for us here in North America. In my side of the planet, it starts at 2 a.m. in the morning, and for the folks in Europe, it's a little later. So we'll see you tomorrow if you join the Dataverse Summit. If not, we'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take
thank
care.
you all. See you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you,
Thanks, Chris.
everyone.
That was
Later.
amazing. Amazing. Thank you.